On. All right, you'll start here, Mr. Brown. Politicians always talk about protecting and expanding the middle class when it comes to taxation and other policies, but we voters aren't always sure what that means. So let's hear how you define it. At what income level do you stop being poor, and at what income level do you start being rich?
John, I think everybody here in Massachusetts is hurting directly from the high cost of taxation in Massachusetts, in particular, between the beer tax, the sales tax, the potential gas tax, hotel meals. It just goes on. And then if you take the level that's happening in Washington with the potential on cap and trade, which is a national energy tax, and then you go further and you bring the health care proposal, which is going to result in more taxes, and then the expiring tax cuts, which is an across-the-board tax increase. I'm in favor of lowering taxes, creating jobs, and almost like a JFK across-the-board tax cut to put money in people's pockets. I think the levels are irrelevant. People are hurting all around Massachusetts, regardless of their income level, and we need to create more jobs by reducing taxes, reducing fees, and putting more money in people's pockets.
Thank you. Ms. Coakley, 1 minute.
But it is important to define who we're talking about, because I believe that the middle class has been unfairly squeezed by tax policies and other policies in the past administration. And so when we look at, for instance, the expiration of the tax cuts in the Bush-Cheney period, what we've focused on, at least from looking at a policy for middle class, would be those in the top 1% who make $1 million or more as a family, and for the top 2% of this country who make more than $250,000. We have federal poverty levels. They're a little bit different from state to state. They are very low. I mean, these are the folks who are at the bottom of the ladder, who've been left out of this discussion as we've had the battle in the last few years between the haves and the have-mores. And so what we need is a focus on making sure that middle-class families can keep more money in their pockets, they can send their kids to college, and they can survive.
Mr. Kennedy, 1 minute.
We had an opportunity in this state last year to address this issue. We had a referendum on the ballot for the income tax cut, which Mr. Brown came out against. That income tax cut would have put an average of $3,700 back into the pockets of every single working family in the state. It didn't happen, didn't go through. A lot of people up on Capitol Hill rejected it, but the reality is it would not have hurt all of the different services that people rely on. For example, there are 9 states without income tax in this nation. 2 of them have higher ranking high schools, and 4 of them have better crime rates than we have in the state of Massachusetts. We should have done it last year. We didn't do it, and I just can't trust people who are large government spenders who aren't willing to actually cut taxes when the people are asking via referendum to do that.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, John. As I said, what we need is an across-the-board tax cut to put more money in people's pockets. And what Martha referenced, she's in support of having the tax cuts, 2001, 2003 tax cuts, actually expire. And what that means is an across-the-board tax increase for businesses and families. You're talking about the child care tax credit going to be cut in half. The marriage penalty will be coming back. And when you're talking about, with all due respect, Martha, I think you're wrong when it comes to the fact that many of these people who make $250,000, they're sole proprietors, and they're the bread and butter of the businesses that are trying to stay in business in Massachusetts. And these expiring tax cuts make it very, very difficult.
Let's get a response.
But I do support President Obama's plan that talks about the expiration of tax cuts for the top 2%. The marriage penalty never went away. It will come back in some respects, but most of what he has proposed, and he has supplement to that will help the middle class. And so let's be clear what we're focusing on, the folks who need the help most, the middle class. That's a tax policy that I will accept and support.
We'll get more opportunity for that later. Final word from you before we break.
But the reality here is we're focusing on tax cuts. The problem is spending. We have to cut spending. Spending is what creates the need for us to continue to increase taxes. We haven't done it. We just passed a $1.1 trillion spending package. And in that spending package, there was a 9% increase for all federal employees' wages in the middle of a recession. Happened just, what, a week ago? What we need to do is we need to control spending. We need to control Washington. We need to stop what's going on up there.
Candidates, time for a break.